Phyllis Bennis is a fellow at the Institute for Policy Studies. She joins us now, also from Washington, D.C. Phyllis, the president is optimistic, but importantly, perhaps for the rest of us, we still don't know exactly why that is.
That's right, Riley. We don't have any sense of how real this optimism is. We're hearing things look optimistic. Things are looking up. Trump might go to the region. All of those things are possible, but we have seen this before. This is not the first time. And we've also seen that the two sides ultimately want very different things from these negotiations. Hamas and virtually every Palestinian, particularly obviously those living and dying under the Israeli genocide in Gaza, want to end this war permanently, end these attacks, end the military siege and occupation. Israel wants the hostages back, and then it wants to be able to go back to war. Benjamin Netanyahu has been very clear about that. That's not exactly a mystery. His latest excuse is if Hamas is not physically disarmed, that we may not be able to avoid going back to war. But this has been a long-standing position of Netanyahu and his far-right extremist elements in his government. Their goal is to be able to get the hostages back and still continue the war.
But that, of course, Phyllis, sorry to jump in on you, that also seems like it stops the plan going through before it even starts, because if the first point is withdrawing of Israeli troops and then the handover of the captives, and then that's it, what left is there for Hamas to negotiate? And how do we ensure that this ceasefire holds, unlike the ceasefire that we saw earlier this year?
That's absolutely right, Riley. What we're facing right now is a situation where the history of Israel reneging on its agreements, waiting to get what they want at any given moment, whether it's a set of hostages, or in this case, it would be all of the hostages first, and only after the hostages are released is Hamas obligated to, is Israel then obligated to release the Palestinian prisoners and detainees who are illegally being held. There's 2,000 people whose lives are at stake there. What we've seen before is once the Israelis get the custody of some hostages, or in this case, maybe all of them, they will walk away. And what is, as you say, the key question, what is to prevent that from happening? What kind of pressure might be brought to bear? If Donald Trump were in the region, would he be prepared to launch that kind of pressure on Israel? We've never seen that happen before. Not from Trump, not from Biden, not from any US president. This would be something unprecedented. And I wouldn't anticipate that Donald Trump would be the first one to do it. So I think this is a very, very dangerous moment. The people that are engaged in the negotiations, particularly the Trump team, Witkoff and son-in-law Jared Kushner, those two families have been looking to make a profit out of the suffering in Gaza, to turn Gaza into some kind of a beach resort. You know, we've heard not Donald Trump, but Donald Trump as well, but his son-in-law Jared Kushner talk about Gaza as a piece of real estate. That's the same history that Witkoff brings to this, and his son. His sons have also, all the sons have been involved in trying to get money from Gulf Arab states. This is not the kind of negotiators who one can look at and say, all they are interested in is to bring peace.
So obviously, this is a complicated process.
This is a very dangerous moment.
This is a complicated process all around. What we do know, though, is we know that the families of the captives want this deal to go through. But how much pressure is there from the rest of the population in Israel on the Netanyahu government to come to an agreement while in Egypt?
I think that while the population in Israel is quite divided on a number of things, there is a great deal of support, not only from the families themselves of the hostages, but from the Israeli population as a whole. They want the hostages back. It's perfectly reasonable demand. They want the hostages back in the same way that Palestinians who have been dying under these conditions of famine now and for two full years of genocide. Everybody wants the war to end, and they want it to end permanently, not simply a 2-week pause while the hostages are released and maybe some of the Palestinian prisoners are released, and then the war resumes. That's not the goal here. People are desperate to bring about a permanent end to the genocide, a permanent end to the occupation. by Israeli troops. At the moment, when we look at what's written in the 20-point plan of President Trump, there is no call for Israel to permanently leave Gaza. There are lines of demarcation. Israel has said that maybe they would be prepared to withdraw to those lines. All of those lines are inside Gaza. All of it. It's all predicated on the idea that there will be a permanent Israeli military presence. Gaza will not be unoccupied by Israeli forces, even when, if this international force, the international grouping of military forces that is supposed to take over from the Israeli side, Israel has made clear they're not prepared to leave Gaza. They want control, security control, permanently. How that gets resolved, we're not hearing anything about. We don't know if that's even on the agenda yet.
Phyllis Bennis, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.